You see those cumulus clouds above? But below, you see fog literally coating the condos. When you look really closely, it's kind of an eerie scene, but it's also a fascinating picture. You wouldn't know, or you would first think that that's waves being splashed up over the condos, but it's waves of moisture. And when you stop and think about it, you go to the beach, you feel that steady, humid wind. It's all the moisture coming in from the Gulf of Mexico. Well, the air that continues through the condos, between the condos, just keeps on going. But some of that air hits the condos, goes up and over, and when it rises, it cools down, and when it cools down, the relative humidity jumps up to 100%. So basically, it forms clouds right along the tops of the condos, and those clouds spill over to the other side. Doesn't have to be a tornado. It can just be that big burst of wind that comes up suddenly. Make sure that you're in a safe place. You still have time ahead of this storm, and you can give me a time on this for the motion to the east. Plenty of time if you're in Tibby, McIntosh, Calvert, Mount Vernon. I heard a lot of people commenting about the humidity today, saying I can't do a thing with my hair. The problem is very high humidity today, but by Monday some dry air will come in, so I think that should put a smile on your face. Maybe on the face of people looking at you. That wind literally tugs on the roof, it tugs on the outside, and that's what leads to the damage that occurs when a tornado or a high wind gets close to it. So just think of a house, the wind literally lifts the roof away, pulls the walls outward, and that's why the interior portions of homes and houses are the safer place to be. It's 20 degrees for inland counties, and even near the coastline, we're middle 20s, so a hard freeze is definitely possible. If you're watching that movie, Saturday Night Fever, turn the channel to Saturday Night Freezer, starring this guy with the coat. I know it's a bad joke, but it's cold. You have to have fun with it.
And look who was explaining the weather. Our own chief meteorologist, Alan Seals, was on hand to spread his wisdom to the kids.
Yesterday I talked about fire whirls. Well, that's a fire whirl right there in the middle of that woods fire. And here's some video taken in Northern California. And what it shows is a fire line. And along the fire line, a few spots, you begin to see the fire curling and spinning and rising up into the air. In fact, right there in the middle, and then a second one develops. Now, these are cousin to a dust devil or a dust whirl, and they're not too unusual. All it takes is a really hot column of air rising quickly. It forces air to be pulled in from all around it, and because the earth rotates, you get the Coriolis effect, and that causes the air to begin to rotate, and you literally create a whirl of wind, call it a whirlwind, which could be either fire or dust, depending upon the cause.
News 5's Alan Seals, well, he's not in his golden years yet, but he is standing by live at that fair with more. Hey there, Alan.
Hey, Devin, you said it correctly. I'm not there yet, but I intend to get there. Manhattan yesterday, high winds blowing through the street. You see that apartment complex right there? The front of it basically fell off into the street, but it didn't exactly fall. I think it was actually pulled by the wind. You saw that wind blowing through the street very rapidly. It's like a canyon, a very small area. The wind has to speed up in order to squeeze between the buildings, and as it does so, it literally tugs on the front side of those buildings. So that could be part of the reason why that building had the front face of it fall off. Locally, things are calm. A beautiful sunset, and many of you looked up and saw this very interesting looking cloud. Some people said it looks like a funnel cloud. It's actually known as fall streaks. Now, those are cirrus clouds. They're about 5 or 6 miles up into the air, and that's why they were still bright after the sun went down. The light was coming up from beneath. Tracy Howell snapped this picture in West Mobile. Not a tornado, not a funnel cloud, just a fall streak. In the next couple of days, all of this will change, and what is Isaac now is going to get caught in between two steering systems. So there is a potential that it may even slow down and meander on Tuesday, which would not be a good thing. So when we're talking hurricanes, it's not just looking at one little computer model and figuring out, well, that's where it's going. You start with data, which is satellites, ship reports, buoy reports, and when storms are out in the oceans, we don't get a lot of data because there's no one out there. As storms get closer to land, the hurricane hunters fly in either from the Air Force Reserve or from NOAA. They'll measure the storm, low levels, mid levels, high levels, as it gets close to land. Then the radars can actually see the rain when it's within a couple hundred miles of land, or weather balloons can drift into the storm to take measurements. That's just a small part of it. We're not just looking for temperature, pressure, humidity, and wind. We're also looking for ocean salinity, the shape of the underwater surface, bathymetry, all sorts of things that go into predicting where a hurricane may be. Calculus, physics, thermodynamics, hydrodynamics, and then you create computer models that have multiple levels, multiple grid points. It's billions of calculations that end up producing this. And from what these charts show you, you make that one little skinny line, which is known as the spaghetti plot. So that's why those single lines don't mean as much as you might think they mean. There's a lady here who didn't want to be on camera, so I'm going to talk to your friend here. And your name?
Thomas.
Okay, Thomas had this really good description of the heat and the sun. You were talking about what you're wearing today compared to yesterday. What's the deal?
Yeah, for Joe Kane, I was wearing the same black black shirt and a sweatshirt on top of it, and I was still freezing. And yet today, I'm just wearing the sweatshirt, and I'm basically burning alive.
Big difference standing in the sun. And you did wash it last night, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, sure you did. Anyway, thanks. Happy Mardi Gras.
We have the best radar, and yet these small storms just pop up out of nowhere.
The whole evolution of the storms was basically 3 or 4 hours in the middle of the night when we were all sleeping. We saw the potential coming today, but until it actually gets here, the analogy is like a baby being born. You don't know what it's going to be until it comes out. You can look at it and weigh it, and then you could say, oh, okay, this is a good child. This is, well, all children are good. But the point is, until it really gets here, you don't know.